So we'll move on to the next set of exam questions about the divide and rule section of the revision guide. So let's zoom in and begin. So you're being asked to look at the picture of a sperm cell as shown. So you got the acrosome, the mitochondria, but more important part is the acrosome. So the acrosome contains a type of chemical. Write down the name of this chemical. So for 1 mark, you're being asked to recall these few sentences here. So if we zoom in, on contact with the ovum, its acrosome cap-like structure on its head bursts. This releases enzymes that digest the egg cell's membrane, allowing the sperm nucleus containing one set of the chromosome from the father to enter. So to answer the exam question, basically it's enzymes. And describe the job of this chemical in sexual reproduction. Well, it's basically to digest the egg cell's membrane, as we've just seen. Where's that? Digest the egg cell's membrane. So basically, this one sentence alone can get you 2 marks. The effective way of revision is just memorize pretty much keywords from chunks of sentences. And this will help accelerate the process of the revision. You don't need to memorize word for word. Just take out the key points, as in this case as shown. Enzymes, 1 mark. Digest egg cell's membrane, 2nd mark. So carrying on, mitochondria are found in the cytoplasm. Write down the name of the process that occurs in the mitochondria. Well, this has really nothing to do with the divide and rule section. It's just like a quick revision question, a 1 mark one. So basically, they're asking you to recall this part of the revision guide, which was the very first page for the biology section for the B3 unit, where it says mitochondria, respiration takes place inside mitochondria, supplying energy for the cell. Well, as I mentioned last time, whenever they're talking about the process involved that occurs in the mitochondria, you should always think about respiration, or anything about respiration, you should think about mitochondria. Those two go hand in hand. So, and finally, body cells are produced by mitosis. A type of cell division called meiosis produces sperm cells. Describe how mitosis is different from meiosis. Right, so for 2 marks, if we go to the meiosis revision guide page, which is here, well, there's quite a lot of differences. The upper flow is about mitosis, and the lower flow chart is meiosis. Mitosis is found in these processes, and meiosis is found in here, where mitosis is generally for growth, repair damaged tissue, replace old cells, whereas meiosis produces gametes for sexual production and introduces variation. Now the thing is, to get the marks, you actually can't use these as your answers for the differences between meiosis and mitosis. What they want is differences within this flowchart. So the 2 things that you could remember, there's a lot as you can see, but the 2 main things to remember is basically in mitosis, 2 identical daughter cells are produced, whereas in meiosis, different daughter cells are produced. That's one point to mention. And the second one is that in mitosis, the cell divides just once, and meiosis divides twice. So cell division once, cell division twice, 2 identical daughter cells, 4 different daughter cells. And stating those 2, memorizing those 2, because they like to ask the question, what's the difference between mitosis, meiosis, and it's common 2 mark questions. And just like that, 5 marks in 2 minutes. So let's move on to the next question. So here we have a simple 1 mark mitosis, meiosis question. So if we zoom in, as Katie grows, she produces more body cells. How are her new body cells produced? Put a ring around the correct answer. So here are your choices. You know the answer can't be variation. You know it can't be fertilization. It's one of these 2. So for 1 mark, how do you know which is which? Basically, they're asking you about this section here. But they're not asking you about the difference between the 2. Then it's likely to be asking you about this section, where it's either for growth, repair damaged tissue, or replace old cells, or the gamete sexual reproduction variation type of question. So it's basically mainly two different styles of questioning that they can do for this page of the revision guide. So just to review, the difference between the flowcharts, or like these 1 mark questions for this, like basically where can you find mitosis, where can you find meiosis. So the exam question asks, how are new body cells produced? And the answer is obviously mitosis, because as seen, it replaces old cells. So this next question is similar to the previous question that we just looked at. So it reads, Harry grows potatoes. Harry plants a potato in soil, and it grows into a potato plant. Several months later, the plant has made new potatoes. So the potatoes grow by producing new cells by cell division. Write down the name of this type of cell division. So for 1 mark, you gotta look for the key word, and that is growth, or grow, by cell division. So what type of cell division is involved with growth? So we know that the answer is, of course, mitosis, because we are told that here, where mitosis produces new cells for growth. So moving on to the next exam question. So the diagram shows a normal sperm cell. As shown, you got the tail, the cell membrane, but more importantly, the acrosome and the mitochondria and nucleus. So the question reads, which part of the sperm cell provides most of the energy? So for 1 mark, whenever they're talking about energy, you should know straight away they're talking about respiration, and anything to do with respiration, you should know is talking about mitochondria. And we know that because from the early first page of the revision guide, it tells us this, where it says mitochondria, respiration takes place inside mitochondria, supplying energy for the cell. So this kind of stuff kind of creeps off quite often, so don't let these easy 1 marks go by. So moving on. The nucleus of the sperm cell is haploid. Why is this important for the correct formation of the zygote? So for 1 mark, you got to be familiar with the terminology first, like what is a haploid and what is a zygote. So basically, you should know that haploid means it has half the number of a normal set of chromosomes, which basically it's got 23 because the normal's got 46. And a zygote is basically the identity of the sperm and the egg once they fuse together. So 2 gametes, egg and sperm, fuse together to form a diploid zygote. So basically, it's the identity of the moment which these two come together, combined. So the 23 chromosomes plus 23 chromosomes come together to create the normal number, 46, the fertilized egg. That's what the zygote is. So to answer the question, why is this important for the correct formation of the zygote? You could actually write 23 plus 23 equals 46. And that will actually get you the mark. But of course, you want to write a bit more to explain what these numbers mean. So you would say it's important because on formation, the normal number of chromosomes will be created and not just half the numbers. And, just something along those lines. It doesn't have word for word, but as long as you explain the idea that the normal number can be reached, and that normal number is 46. So, and finally, for this page, the sperm that are produced without an acrosome cannot fertilize an egg. Explain why. So for 1 mark, you need to remind yourself that the purpose of the acrosome is because inside there are enzymes, and the enzymes are used to kind of digest the egg cell's membrane. So if you don't have the acrosome, you don't have the enzymes to break in. So if you can't break in, you can't fertilize. So just to remind you guys, we are told that here, on contact with the ovum, its acrosome, cap-like structure on its head bursts. This releases enzymes that digest the egg cell's membrane, allowing the sperm nucleus containing 1 set of chromosomes from the father to enter. So basically, no acrosome, no enter. So let's move on to the next question. The next question on the divide and rule section reads, this question is about fertilization. Sperm and egg cells carry out fertilization. They both have a nucleus to carry genes. So here the diagram shows you the sperm cell, not to scale, egg cell, drawn to scale. So the idea of the scale difference is not really important, but just to give you a general idea that there's like the sperm is really, really tiny, and there's like millions of them surround the egg trying to get in. So it would look dumb if they didn't write this not to scale and drawn to scale, because the sperm is nowhere near the same size as the egg cell. It takes loads and loads of sperm just to create the possibility of even one entering. So write down the name of the type of cell division that makes egg and sperm cells. So for 1 mark, they're basically asking you to recall these sections here or this section here, because they're not asking for the direct difference between mitosis and meiosis. They're asking for what type of cell division is involved with the sexual reproduction, and we know, of course, that's meiosis, because they produce gametes for sexual reproduction and introduces variation. So the type of cell division that makes egg and sperm cells, of course, is meiosis. So this type of cell division is different to the cell division that makes body cells. Describe one difference. So for 1 mark, this is actually a similar question to what we've already seen. They're asking for a direct difference between mitosis and meiosis. You either write mitosis produces 2 identical daughter cells, whereas meiosis produces 4 different daughter cells, or you say in mitosis the cell only divides once, whereas in meiosis the cell divides twice. Any one of those 2 things you could say to get that 1 mark. So 2 marks in less than a minute. So here we have another exam question that you've already seen, that we've just been through, but it's just reworded differently. So it just goes to show that it's important to go through past exam questions, because they're likely to repeat themselves, but just kind of masked in a different form to disguise that they're asking the same thing over and over again, when in fact they actually are, but just reworded differently. So the question reads, enzymes are found in cells. The diagram shows where some enzymes are found in the sperm cell. So here you got the diagram with the labeling saying the acrosome contains enzymes. Write down the job of the enzymes in the acrosome. Well, we know the purpose of these enzymes are to digest the egg cell's membrane so the sperm can enter. And it's written, as we've seen already, here. The enzymes that digest the egg cell's membrane, allowing the sperm nucleus containing 1 set of the chromosomes from the father to enter.